Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Ashwin Joglekar and I am from Resonance PCCP division. Today we are here with the topic Traders, Kings and Pilgrims and Contact with Distant Lands. Now this is from your class 6th history portion. Now in this we will be looking at first the introduction part of it, then about the Sangam literature, and later on lastly we will be looking at India's contact with the West. That will be in the second part of the lecture. So let us quickly start our topic, that is from class 6th history portion. Alright, so as you can see here, okay, so as you can see, traders, kings and pilgrims. So all these people played in establishing contact with different parts of the world, of India especially. Now in introduction, in establishing contacts, especially commercial contacts with foreign lands or distant lands, the traders actually played an important part since ages long ago. That is from the 6th century BC probably to the 4th century AD. From very ancient times, India had maintained close contacts with distant lands. That is, we are trying to sell their products and probably we are getting gold or silver in return. The Indian traders used to go to other countries with which they had trade relations. Similarly, the Buddhist monks travelled across the mountains to spread the message of the Buddha as far as China. King Ashoka sent Buddhist missionaries to Sri Lanka to spread Buddhism. Traders and scholars from other countries also came to India. So this is how the different people established contacts with one another. In this, probably the first part we will be looking at is the Sangam literature. Now, the Sangam literature. Now, Sangam is literally meaning assemblies. The Sangam literature, the literature collectively produced by the ancient Tamilian poets, is commonly known as the Sangam literature. It is believed that there were 3 Sangams or assemblies of Tamil poets which were held in which 8,598 poets participated. From the historical events described in these poems, historians have tried to suggest that Sangam literature was compiled between 300 AD to 600 AD. It was in this period that Sangam literature was compiled. The poems composed at the first assembly are lost, which we do not have them. 2000 poems composed in the second and third assemblies have survived and have been compiled in 8 volumes. Of these, so total 8 volumes have been compiled from the second and the third assembly. These, the most important poem is Patapatu, 10 long poems, that is, which is a description of heroic deeds of the 3 kingdoms, the Pandyas, the Cheras and the Cholas. So the heroic description about these or deeds of these 3 kingdoms, that is the Pandyas, Cheras and Cholas, and the life of common people of those times. The greatest author is Thiruvalluvar, who wrote Thirikaral. So he is one of the most revered authors in South India. This literature also throws light on the establishment of Indian colonies in Southeast Asia. That is, they had relations as well as trade relations, as well as they had colonies there. From the Sangam literature, we also get information about trade relations of the Tamilians with the Greeks and the Romans. So we had trade relations with Greeks and Romans as well. Detailed account of certain rulers, especially those of the Chola and Pandya rulers, is also available from this literature. That is from the Sangam literature which we have found out. So what has been written has survived, and that throws light on the things which were there at that time. This also throws a good deal of light on the social, religious and economic life. Society कैसी थी, उनका religion क्या था और उनकी इकोनॉमिक लाइफ के बारे में भी ये लिटरेचर से हमें, संगम लिटरेचर के थ्रू हमें पता पड़ता है. लाइफ ऑफ द पीपल ऑफ साउथ इंडिया फ्रॉम द 1st century AD to almost the 6th century AD. Now, Indian colonies in Southeast Asia. Now, that is merchants of Kalinga. Now, Kalinga we have heard, right? Ashoka wanted to capture it and later on captured, and because of it, after the end of Kalinga war, Ashoka embraced Buddhism. Saurashtra, as in Gujarat side, Bengal and Tamil Nadu established close contacts with some countries of Southeast Asia. Initially, these traders used to buy spices. That was the most important commodity, which we will be again looking in further classes also, that because of spices, Europeans were also attracted to India from the Southeast Asian countries and made huge profits by selling them to Rome and other countries of the West as well. But some of adventurous merchants thought of settling there in order to carry trade in spices more efficiently. So they married the women belonging to noble families in those countries and settled there. So many of the people actually settled there. Some Indian princes who could not find fortune in their own country also sailed to these lands to carve out a kingdom. One such kingdom was Kingdom of Cambodia, where grand temples very similar to the Indian temples were also built. The greatest monument of Hindus still existing, which is there in Cambodia, is the great Vishnu temple of Angkor Wat. There is a legend of one that is likewise the kingdom of Java. Yavadvip was established by a Hindu prince. So this is also a legend which is there. Fahin, the Chinese traveller who had come to India during the reign of Chandragupta Maurya, makes a mention of Java, which was ruled by a Hindu king. Both the ruler and the people worshipped the Hindu gods, and later on the rulers of Java, like those of India, adopted Buddhism. The Buddhist stupa of Borobudur is also the biggest stupa in the world. It is a whole mountain carved into 9 terraces, which surrounds the main stupa, which is there, and it is carved out and surrounded by 9 terraces, carved into 9 terraces surrounded. It contains 436 images of the Buddha made by various artists and sculptors of that particular time period. So this Sangam literature is giving us a glimpse about what was there. Okay. Now the great Vishnu temple at Angkor Wat in Cambodia. So you can see. Okay. Then we have Sumatra was also a Hindu kingdom. It was called Sri Vijaya because its founder was Sri Vijaya, so therefore it was named as Sri Vijaya. It was a center of Buddhist learning and trade relations with China. So it was a center for Buddhist learning as well as it had good trade relations with China. Itzing, the Chinese traveller, visited this country. Bali and Borneo were also Hindu colonies. In Bali, the people still follow the Hindu religion. It is said that when Muslims conquered these parts, they had fled here to escape persecution. Thus today, when the people of Java, Sumatra and Borneo follow the religion of Islam, those of Bali still practice the old Hindu religion of their ancestors. A Hindu kingdom was also established in Champa or Annam. Amravati was the name of its capital city at that time. It was also a center of Sanskrit learning where Sanskrit was taught. Indian kings also ruled in the region which is now called Indochina. The kingdom which the Chinese called Funan was ruled by the Indian kings till the 7th century AD. So again, this all things are showing that how Indians were actually ruling or had contacts and colonies all throughout the spread throughout the continent of Asia. It covered Siam, that is Thailand, Laos, Malaya. It was established by the Hindu kings of Cambodia, whose capital was Angkor. Jahan pe wo temple hai again. The stupa of Borobudur in Java. Now recent archaeological discoveries also have proved that Indian merchants, monks and princes carried the torch of their culture and civilization to as far as Central Asia, China, Japan, Indonesia, Indochina and several countries of Asia. Statues of Hindu gods and Lord Buddha have been found in the Gobi Desert as well and Khotan. The discovery of giant rock-cut statues of Buddha at Bamiyan in Afghanistan also confirms this view that Buddhism again as a religion spread through India. This statue was destroyed by the Taliban in 2001. So one of the World Heritage was being destroyed or has been destroyed. Now, this is also a very important aspect about that is Silk Route. Now, Silk Route were the places from China, that is the silk which flowed from China towards Europe, because Europe had a demand for silk, and these were named because they were the carriers of the silk cargoes which were meant for Europe, and in turn gold and silver came to China. And on these routes, because they were passing somewhere almost also through India, so spices and other commodities were also exchanged on these routes. But the name given is Silk Route because silk was the major commodity which was from China going towards Europe. Alright. So, the Silk Route, that is, the Chinese were the first to unravel the technique of making silk. About 7,000 years ago, in around 5000 BC, they made the silk, that is, the unravel the technique of making silk. Then soon it became a highly valued article in the ancient world. Some of the Chinese merchants and travelers went to distant lands carrying silk with them. The routes they followed soon came to be known as the Silk Route. So, the routes which they took carrying silk from one place to another place came to be known as your silk routes. The best known rulers who controlled some of the silk routes were the Kushanas, who ruled over Central Asia and Northwest India at that time during the 1st-2nd centuries AD. During their rule, a branch of Silk Route extended from Central Asia down to the Indus River and its ports, from where the silk was shifted to Western countries or was being again sent to Western countries, especially the Roman Empire. As a result of which, there was a great flow of Roman gold and silver in India, and India again became quite rich because of this. Then it is because of this fact that Kushanas issued a large number of gold and silver coins during their period, which again greatly helped the traders along the Silk Route. So, it is all interconnected because silk as a commodity is flowing from these ports, and in return gold and silver is coming back. According to some historians, the Kushanas were perhaps the first amongst the earliest rulers of India who issued gold coins. Alright, they were the first ones who issued gold coins. Now, here on the map we can see the Silk Route, that is how it is connecting different parts. Now, probably I will just show you. India is here, alright, as you can see. Now, this is one Silk Route. All these dotted lines are showing your, these are majorly the interconnected points. Now, this is again from Silk Road, okay. Now, this is again some interconnecting points, and the important cities are all marked here. Takshashila, okay, Gandhar, Kushan, Mathura, so all this, okay. So, these are the different kinds of silk routes which existed at that time, and this is Han Empire here, and alright, the dotted lines are showing the Silk Route, and there are other trade routes as well, alright, okay. So, now this brings us to the end of the first part of this lecture, and we will be taking up the second part, that is India's contact with the West, in the second part of this lecture, alright, okay. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much.